It's a very simple choice election on every issue. And that's the Democrats want their crumbs back. They want to repeal the largest tax cuts in history. We know they want endless investigation of President Trump. It'll be nonstop, 24/7. And we know the ultimate goal of most Democrats is to impeach the president. We know that they want to keep Obamacare. Republicans would like to have free market solutions. We know they want to eliminate ICE and want open borders. Republicans want to build the border wall. And Kevin McCarthy has put forward a bill to have full funding of that wall. Where do we go? 27 days left. Former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, probably the smartest strategist when it comes to elections that I know. Welcome back, sir. How are you?
Well, it's great to be with you. Let me just say, I'm going to shock you. I believe the quote you have from Hillary Clinton is right. She's correct.
Meaning?
If we win, if we get a Trump Supreme Court, we get conservative policies in Congress, we roll back the regulatory state, her world goes away. I mean, I don't blame her for being terrified, because she should be. The American people have risen up and said, we don't want radicalism. We don't want to abolish America in favor of global institutions. We don't want to abolish the U.S. Constitution in favor of nutcake left-wing judges. We actually like lower taxes, more jobs, and a better future. And from the standpoint of a left-wing Democrat, this would be the end of their world. So I think her level of intensity and emotionalism is right, because she's actually sending a signal to the American people. This is what this is about. You want a future where the Hillary Clintons and the Congresswoman Waters and people like Nancy Pelosi define your future? Or do you want a future in which you have the power because you've got money in your pocket, your taxes are lower, the red tape is less, the Washington bureaucracy is smaller, and you actually get to define your own future? It is that dramatic a difference.
Well, look, you know as well as I do, there's only been 3 times in the last 100 years where the party that wins the White House ends up picking up seats in Congress in their first midterm election. Now, the last time that happened was after the 9/11 attacks in 2002.
Right.
And I think the country was so unified at that moment that there was no desire to change power in any way, shape, manner, or form. I think before Judge Kavanaugh, I was a little worried about the enthusiasm gap that existed between Republican voters and Democratic voters. That gap is now closed completely. And in most instances, when there's a tie, that means that's a huge advantage for Republicans, because pollsters don't tend to get that right.
All right. Well, look, you mentioned a minute ago one of the key examples of why the next few weeks are going to become Republican weeks. Kevin McCarthy just introduced a really important bill that says basically, look, here's your choice. You want to stop fentanyl from killing people. You want to stop carfentanil, which is even worse than killing people. You want to stop opioids coming in from Mexico. You want to stop human trafficking coming in from Mexico. You want to stop MS-13 coming in from Mexico. You got to control the border. And he has got the first bill that absolutely says unequivocally, we're going to control the border. Now, what are the Democrats offering? They're offering open borders, either abolish or shrink ICE, sanctuary cities. So the Democrats are saying, look, we feel really bad that your child may die of an opioid overdose. We feel really bad that your neighborhood school may be terrorized by MS-13. But after all, we're left-wing ideologues, and you can't expect us to be practical. So why don't you go along with us? Because, that's the right thing to do, is open up America and let every drug dealer, every human trafficker, and every single MS-13 gang member come into the country. Now, I think if that's the choice on Election Day, you and I are going to have to fasten our seatbelts, because we're going to be in for an election result like we have not seen in our lifetime.
Well, I believe now firmly that, all the people that have been claiming a blue wave, and blue wave can be shocked again, just like they were in 2016. And there were only a couple of us that believed that was even possible. And I think one indicator of just how far left the Democratic Party has gone is out in California, the sanctuary state of California. And you have Gavin Newsom running up against this business guy by the name of what's his first name? John Cox.
John Cox.
And Cox is now in a 5-point, almost within the margin race against Gavin Newsom. And one of the biggest issues to emerge is not only the sanctuary city status of the whole state, but the proposal of Gavin Newsom to provide free health care to anybody. It doesn't matter, resident of California, citizen, non-citizen, doesn't matter. Everybody gets free health care.
Look, I would ask everybody who's listening to us, just close your eyes for a second and think about the thought. Don't do this if you're driving. Keep your eyes open. But everybody who's not driving, close your eyes for a second and think about Gavin Newsom is proposing at a time when Senator Feinstein has introduced an open borders bill. And by the way, President Trump's been very clear on this the last couple of days. The Democrats in the Senate, every single Democrat in the Senate has co-sponsored the Feinstein open borders bill. So now what the Democrats are proposing to us is the following. We're going to have open borders so anybody who wants to can come in. We're going to offer them free health care paid for by the taxpayer. Now just apply your common sense. Worldwide, among billions of people, the word's going to go out within days. If you have an illness, get to California. They want to take care of you. I mean, how many people do we think are going to show up who need health care?
Well, what if you don't have health care and you live in Alabama or you live in Missouri or you live in Michigan? I wouldn't mind driving out to California if I needed serious, significant health care. Who's going to pay for it? Now, they do have a state income tax of 13.
I hadn't actually thought about that. That's a great idea. I never thought about the notion. I apologize. Until you said it.
Don't worry, I have a very dark, twisted way of thinking. Go ahead.
No. I'm impressed. This is one of those times when you've taken me just totally off my feet. It hadn't occurred to me. You're exactly right. Newsom's plan could apply to every American. So what we could say to every governor in the country is, send them to California. Here's Gavin Newsom.
Just ship them. We'll ship them out to California.
I'd never thought of that.
It'll lower the health care cost for every other state in the union. Everybody, you're sick, go to California. Gavin Newsom offered you free care.
Gavin Newsom's going to save every state in America billions of dollars. I had never thought of it. I gotta think about this, Sean. By the time I do your show tonight,
you're going to
work on this one.
You're going to work on this.
You caught me totally off guard. I
it's not easy to get Newt Gingrich off guard. I will say that. I'm actually, there have been times when, you have warned me as we're really family. I've gotten to know you so well. I consider you family. And, but you're always, quick to tell me you're out on a limb again. You're out there again. But what are you doing? You don't hesitate to tell me when you think I'm gone too far.
You won this round.
No, it's not about winning.
Totally. I'm amazed.
You know what I want? I want the country to win. I'm not sick of winning, and I'm glad we have 4 million more Americans working, ending burdensome regulation, a chance at energy independence. The wall is being built if we can fund the rest of it. I'm happy about, all of the renegotiated trade deals. I think it's a more secure world. And I like the success. I like the direction we're heading, and I think we're better off than we were 2 years ago by a long shot.
Well, that's what's amazing about this moment in time, is because you and I met with the president last week, and we're talking with a guy who has kept his word on deregulation, kept his word on conservative judges, kept his word on cutting taxes, kept his word on getting better trade deals, and you look at the results and you think to yourself, lowest African American unemployment in history, lowest Latino unemployment in history. I think down to 1969 is the last time we were this good for everybody in general. When you look at all this, you think, this is really working. And that's what the argument is. The fight this year is between results and resistance. And the president is focused on results, and the Democrats are focused on resistance.
I think that we have an opportunity here. I just hope the American people are awake to what is at stake here. And, I go through what the Democratic agenda is, and it is very dire to me. Endless investigation. They want to impeach the president. They want the higher taxes, even though Americans are seeing $1,000, $2,000 extra dollars in their pocket every year. That's real money for real people. We're seeing manufacturing jobs coming back, jobs we were told were never coming back. We see the Midwest growth now beginning a comeback that is rival to none that we've seen in our lifetime. And, you know, I see millions of Americans off of food stamps, 8 million off of poverty since Trump has become president. This is real progress. And maybe some people don't like the president's style, but he's getting things done. The disruption and the speed of Trump works. Why would we go backwards?
Well, I think that's right. And I think the big challenge in the next few weeks is for every single person who wants America to keep moving in the right direction to make sure that they vote, their friends vote, everybody they know votes. This is because elections, you know, I learned this a long time ago. Elections aren't about polling. Elections are about who shows up. And I always tell people when they say, well, what do you think is going to happen? I say, show me the first 5 or 6 precincts. When I see real Americans vote in a real precinct, I begin to think about, okay, I'm beginning to get the pattern. And I think that we have a real shot here at the most historic midterm election in American history. And I say this very clearly. If this breaks the way I think it could, it'll be the most historic midterm election in American history, and it will further accelerate the Trump revolution at creating jobs, defending America, reshaping the federal government, draining the swamp, and doing the things we need as a country for us to be safe.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue more with Newt Gingrich.
This is KIDO Talk Radio, now on 107.5 FM and 580 AM.
He has taken a lead out in that Arizona Senate race. We have a close race in Nevada with Dean Heller. Right now, Claire McCaskill is down in Missouri. We could pick up a seat in Montana against Tester, which is a possibility. Joe Donnelly is in trouble. Heidi Heitkamp is in trouble. Bill Nelson is in trouble. And hopefully Joe Manchin becomes a Republican. Speaker Gingrich, we continue with you. How important are these Senate races? How winnable are they all?
Well, first of all, they're unbelievably important. Remember, the great achievement of beginning to shift the American judges back to people who believe in the Constitution and who believe in America is only effective if Mitch McConnell's the leader. I mean, the work he has done this year working with President Trump is truly historic and heroic. And it's not just the Supreme Court justice, although obviously we're all thrilled that we were able to finally have a success in achieving a victory last week. But that's just the beginning. The fact is that the president and the Senate Majority Leader have worked together to move almost 1 out of every 4 federal judges towards a more constitutional, more conservative, more American interpretation of the law. And this is a remarkable achievement. If the Democrats were to win this, and this is why I say to everybody back home, this is not complicated. I mean, you've got Bredesen running in Tennessee saying, oh, I'm really a moderate. Well, who's going to vote for it? He's going to vote for Schumer. Period. The Democrat in Arizona, she says, claims to be a moderate. Who's going to vote for? He's going to vote for Schumer. Period. Well, what does that mean? It means not a single Trump judge will move forward. Not a single Trump appointment will move forward. So control of the Senate is absolutely vital if, in fact, you want to continue to move the American government towards a pro-American constitutional conservatism, which I think is what, frankly, helped win the election in 2016.
Former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, in 27 days, you will be on this show and we will be analyzing the results. The people get to decide. Please vote. Thank you.
Former Trump campaign manager Corey Lewandowski and conservative columnist Ann Coulter, author of Resistance is Futile, one of my favorites. All right, Ann, I want to play some sound for you. By the way, this is probably the most fair and balanced panel I've ever had.
Agreed.
And because of that, I'm going to play a Democrat. I'm just kidding. Ann would knock my head off. No, I want to play some sound of the president praising Mitch McConnell, and let's listen.
He goes down as the greatest leader, in my opinion, in history. What we've done is incredible together. But he's better when I'm president than he ever was when anyone else was president.
Trump made Mitch great again, or as he's known favorably, Cocaine Mitch. What do you think, Ann? How are you going to turn that into immigration?
Okay, give me 30 seconds. Well, right after Kavanaugh gets through, and he is in Kentucky, okay, you got to praise Mitch McConnell. But by and large, I think the mistake of the Trump administration so far is Trump giving into the Mitch McConnell agenda rather than the other way around. McCain couldn't win the way the country's been changed by immigration. McCain couldn't win. Romney couldn't win. Trump won. So why don't Republicans in Congress think, oh, this guy knows how to do it. Let's be like him. Let's pass funding for the wall and get the Democrats to vote against it. No, they go straight back to the old Republican playbook, tax cuts, military spending, continue the various wars we have around the universe. Who are the biggest stars right now in the Democrat or Republican Party? Donald Trump, Lindsey Graham, and that wonderful Bill Cassidy.
And Corey Lewandowski.
If you could play that
star in the
clip, that would be
Republican
great,
Party.
too. What did they do? They stood up to liberals.
Yes.
You know the Bill Cassidy clip I'm
Yes,
talking about.
he goes up to some woman who I think had brought her children into the halls of Congress and, oh, you've ruined my children's future. And he looks at the kids and said, your mother's making you into a pawn. Don't ever be a victim
and
like that.
And if you're ever accused falsely as an adult, don't worry. They won't get away with it.
Exactly. And Corey, Mitch McConnell does say he's going to get a lot of wall funding in the lame duck Congress if there is one. What do you think?
Well, look, I think where you have to praise Mitch McConnell is him actually getting the federal judges through the system. This president's put 84 judges into the system, which has long-term ramifications for the electorate and for the people in the country for the foreseeable future. That is a testament to what Mitch McConnell has done. But the president has done it against the will of the Senate. Look, he just nominated some more people for the Ninth Circuit that were not with the advice and consent of the two senators from California, because he said it's time to change the judiciary because they have legislative from the bench. We've seen this too many times. To Ann's point, the immigration issue had to go all the way to the Supreme Court for a 9-0 decision to say the president of the United States has the authority to prevent people from coming into this country that he believes are a detriment to our country. The same power that every president has used since World War II, but we've seen judges all too often legislating from the bench. So to Mitch's credit, because of what the president has done, they've fundamentally changed the court system, and that's going to have long-term ramifications in the positive sense.
Well, if Mitch McConnell could make the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals Republican, give the guy the Congressional Medal of Honor.
U.S. soil.
And speaking of drawing,
if I could be the Democrat here, all that, though that is true and Trump is strong, I'm not really that enthusiastic. That's not bringing people out to vote. What are these people doing in ridiculous countries to begin with? What we wanted was a wall.
Well, yes. And
you don't have to keep saving people who did. I feel like it's, skiers who go off into a no skiing area. Avalanche warning. Don't go. And we have to spend all this money to get them back. Don't go to these countries.
Well, Turkey can be a very nice place to be. Sometimes for some
I'm
people.
glad we got them. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's a much more important thing to protect the Americans who live here. Well,
speaking of that, the president really delineated that vis-a-vis the midterm elections. Here was his contrast. Let's listen.
The fact is, Democrats have become the party of crime. They have. Republicans are the party of safety, and we are the party of jobs, jobs, jobs.
So the president has, I believe, a gift politically for really just in black and white terms. They're socialists, we're capitalists. We like law and order, they love crime. No other, I believe, president has ever put anything in those stark terms before, and that's what's driving these liberals mad.
He's totally right on the immigration issue, though if he goes along with Jared Kushner's idea on prison reform, he'll be the crime president. So, warning, Mr. President.
And lock him up, right?
One other thing about the immigration issue, you're right about the courts. The courts will not matter. The Kavanaugh nomination will not matter. If immigration changes this country enough that we can never get another Republican president, they're just going to pack the courts, and all of these victories will be footprints in the sand.
$844-500-4242. Joining us now on the line, as she does most Monday afternoons at this time, is Ann Coulter, author of many best-selling New York Times books, including her most recent one just out, Resistance is Futile. And resistance was futile on Saturday afternoon, wasn't it?
It sure was. A microcosm of the whole book. It's going to, their protests, these lunatics, they're going to end up saving Trump from not building the wall. Our side is really, really demoralized. But watching these lunatics pounding on, I assume you've been running the videos, pounding on that, trying to break into the Supreme Court, just nasty, ugly, many mentally disturbed protesters. That really shows the underbelly of the pleasant-looking Democrats they present for our votes, like Beto O'Rourke. Oh no! Right behind the Democrats are these loons.
Yeah, Beto O'Rourke, who says they need to import Mexicans because into Texas because blacks won't pick cotton anymore. Who runs away from a drunk driving accident that he caused, and then denies it, even though there are police reports out there. Who commits a burglary of a college building and then says it was a college prank, even though he wasn't in college. Yeah, is his name Beto O'Rourke or Beto Kennedy, Ann?
Well, he was never called Beto until he decided to run in Texas and wanted to give himself more of an Hispanic-sounding name. I think the most egregious thing he's done is just recently when he was speaking at a college campus and citing that anti-cop book, The New Jim Crow, that cops are just racistly choosing black people and black people only to imprison. This is the new way. It used to be slavery, but now we pretend they've committed crimes. I mean, to be taking a broad brush and describing police officers, particularly in Texas. That was where that Dallas shooting was, where five cops executed?
Right.
This is a Hillary Clinton style move. Remember, after that happened, Hillary Clinton specifically asked to go on Wolf Blitzer so she could comment on how the implicit racism in police forces across America, and that she was going to do something about that. 5 cops, but their corpses aren't even cold yet in the morgue, and she attacks them for their implicit racism.
Yeah, Elizabeth
I'm sure it was
Warren.
The Russians that elected Trump.
Elizabeth Warren did the same thing. 2 cops brutally murdered in cold blood here in her alleged home state of Massachusetts, and she goes down to New Orleans to the Nut Roots Conference, I call it, and talks about the American justice system as racist front to back. But Ann, let me ask you something. What is it with these Democrats changing their names? I thought I mentioned it briefly last week, and then I thought of more. There's Beto O'Rourke, there's Gary Hartpence, there's Anthony Villa, who became Anthony Villaraigosa. There's Kevin Leone, becomes Kevin De Leon. And then there was the congressman in Philadelphia who's now in prison. I guess his name was Frizzell. I don't know if it was Lefty Frizzell, but he changed it to Chaka Fatah. I mean, all these...
That's a pretty good list, Howie.
I just did it off the top of my head. You know,
they're like political racial dolazars. No, don't confuse us with white men. We've just changed our names to sound more ethnic.
How about if I moved to Texas, Ann, I could become Howie Carrara? You know?
Well, if you want to run as a Democrat.
Yeah.
If it isn't already clear, if the Democrats take control of the House this fall, I need to put a list together because based on seniority, all of the important committees and probably by rights the new speaker, it's pretty much going to be across the board, not only members of the Congressional Black Caucus, but some of the especially ripe ones like Sheila Jackson Lee and Maxine Waters. I mean, if whatever her name is, Alexa Ocasio-Cortez, and that one up near you. I forget her name.
Ayanna Pressley. Ayanna Pressley.
Right.
Yes.
If this isn't enough to show Democrat white men that there is no place for you in the modern Democratic Party, I think it will become very clear if Democrats take the House.
Yeah. By the way, Ann, I missed one. Linda Sanchez, formerly known as Linda Jones, out in California.
Wow.
Remember her? Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, I think her name was Jones. I think she married a Jones, but as soon as she was running in that district against B1 Bob Dornan and said, this is 50% Hispanic now, she went back to,
right.
She dumped that married name faster than you could shake a stick at it. Yeah.
I have been thinking that if I should start advising young Republican girls I meet. I guess you don't have to be a Republican. Marry an Hispanic so you can take the last name right away. You will be guaranteed a spot on TV.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there used to be a guy that worked for Mike Dukakis, and his name was Manuel Carballo. And I always just say, man, you got it made. You're Spanish, but you can claim to be Hispanic. And he goes, I would never do something like that. That would be despicable, because he was Castilian or something,
Right.
But I thought to myself, yeah, he's the one. He's the one in a million who was not going to try to take it. And he died shortly thereafter. So I wonder what he would think now if he could see the way these people are taking these names or changing the names. Kevin Leone, he didn't think I guess he was afraid he was going to be confused as an Italian, right? So he decides to become Kevin De Leon. As in Ponce de Leon.
Right. It's so despicable how and the Democrats have the audacity to talk about Republicans pushing identity politics. No, this is coming 100% from the left. As I've said many times, it is one thing to have set-asides, racial set-asides, and affirmative action for African Americans, the descendants of American slaves, but this idea that you arrive on Friday and by Monday you're looking at the newscast and saying, I noticed there are no ties on the evening newscast. No, you just got here.
Right. And someone just points out, we forgot the biggest fraud of all. Mayor Warren Wilhelm.
Oh, that's right.
Of New York City. The one who told the homeless woman to get lost the other day because he was doing his workout.
Is that right? Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, that was on the front page of the New York Post. We've actually got tape of that, Steve, right? Let's listen to this.
Out of 300,000 units.
What's that now?
Out of the 300,000 units that in your affordable housing program, only 5% will go to house the homeless. Can you look me in the eye and tell me why you're not doing it?
Why won't you commit more housing for homeless New Yorkers, Mayor de Blasio?
He's doing his workout, Ann.
I love when the left turns on their own. It's so much fun. Did you see, what's his name? Scott, the one married to Gabby Giffords. What's his name?
I don't know.
The one who shot the astronaut.
Oh, it's Kelly. Scott Kelly.
Yeah, you see, he sent out some quote, some statement. I believe it was attacking Kavanaugh. Don't worry. The point of it was totally, down with the social justice warriors. But he quoted Winston Churchill, and the SJWs ganged up on him because apparently Churchill is now a white supremacist too. So the big, tough man astronaut sends out a tweet apologizing for quoting Winston Churchill.
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, that was pathetic. Hey, how about this latest thing? Did you see? You remember this woman that works at CNN? You probably don't know her because I doubt you watch CNN any more than I do. Caitlin Collins. Remember her?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to get to know her now because I know the story you're talking about.
Yeah, she was. They brought her in. She was as part of a pool. Reporting and camera crew just to get a spray, that they bring in one reporter in case something happens. So she decides she violates all the usual rules of protocol for the White House press corps and starts screaming at Trump about the Michael Cohen tapes. That he had supposedly given up, and Michael Cohen had these tapes, which of course he didn't have, as we found out.
Much like what's her name, the Apprentice gal, Omarosa. Whatever happened to that tape of Trump using the N-word? Okay, go ahead.
But anyway, so she was a hero. So they said, you're out of here. You're out of here for a couple of days. You can't come in. You can't come to the press conferences because you violated the rules. I mean, it wasn't like permanent banning or anything. They just giving her a slap on the wrist. So so she's a big hero, and even Fox News has to chime in and say, oh, Caitlin Collins deserves the Profiles in Courage Award, et cetera, et cetera. Well, guess what happened, Ann? tweets.
Someone looked back at her high school years.
That's right.
And I love them all leaping to her defense and saying, oh, you can't be held accountable for something you do in high school. They will take the double standards, make your head spin. They were just calling Judge Kavanaugh a rapist for something that allegedly, clearly did not, happen in high school.
And I have it right in front of me here. I'm holding it up for the camera here. Here are her tweets. This is not an unproven allegation. These are the tweets that she was sending out. And not a problem, because you know what? She works for CNN. And even if she got fired from CNN, Ann, she could go to work for MSNBC. She could be a co-anchor with Joy Ann Reid, and they could all talk about how much they don't like members of sexual minorities.
Gays.
Right.
Yes. No, they'd have, I mean, I guess if you have 100% control of the media, this is the sort of thing you can get away with. But it's still, this one's a little stunning. You have to go back, what is it now, 18 years to get to Gloria Steinem writing in the New York Times that a governor dropping his pants and saying kiss it to someone who works for him. No, that's one free grope rule. He took no for an answer. But Kavanaugh allegedly, again, BS story, no corroboration, recovered memory, and so on and so forth, allegedly did the same thing as a drunk college student, and we're going to burn down the Supreme Court if he gets on because of that. That's 18 years. Here, it's a week later.
Ann, how about the fact that they all 2 years ago they were writing about how the Democrats had a lock on the Electoral College. They were going to control American politics for a generation, if not forever. Then they lose the election and they want to abolish the Electoral College. Then they talk about the Supreme Court is sacrosanct. Anytime they rule in favor of abortion or gay marriage, it's settled law. The Supreme Court decided it. It's the ultimate thing. Now there's a conservative majority on the Supreme Court, so we're going to have to pack the Supreme Court, right?
Yeah, that's well thought out.
But it's true. That's what they're saying, Ann. You know, they're talking.
No, I know. Well, they do not accept democracy or losing in a democracy. Thus, immigration, of course, the biggest issue. That's how they win finally, permanently, and beyond repair. We're 50 years into the social experiment of bringing in 1 million third worlders or more every year. 8 out of 2 vote for the Democrats. The Supreme Court, they figured out about 30, 40 years ago, it's not that the Supreme Court was designed to be a super legislature of these philosopher kings, but the left figured out, they go last. So simply as a logistical matter, if we can pilot these cases and get 5 justices to rule for us, so it's either 60 million foreigners voting for us in elections. If that's not even enough, then we'll get 5 justices. Now these paths of cheating are being cut off, so they want to back the court. Well, okay, then a Republican gets in and he packs the court, and then a Democrat gets in and he packs the court. I mean,
and pretty soon we have more people on the Supreme Court than in the New Hampshire House of Representatives. Right. All right.
They will not accept losing.
Ann Coulter, thanks for being with us. The title of your new book is
Resistance is Futile, How the Trump-Hating Left Lost Its Collective Mind.
And it certainly did over the weekend. Thank you, Ann Coulter.
Yes, it did. Goodbye.
Bye. I'm Howie Carr.
If you change